Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I'm here today with our European Nightcrawler bin. And I left this uncovered all week to let it dry out a bit and to encourage the worms to go back down because we had had some rain and my worms were climbing up and hanging out in this little ridge area on both sides, and it's a little tricky to get them all back in. So wanted to peek in on them today. I felt like the top was a little bit dry. I'm surprised they're up quite this far. I mean, that's awesome though. They're looking real good. I believe this is the side that we fed. Not sure. We fed blended food, if I remember correctly. They don't seem overly excited about that onion. Are there any worms in here? No, at this point I don't see any worms in the onion, but there seems to be a lot of worms in the area. So I'm going to mix some of this dry bedding into this area. It still feels pretty compact. I'm actually wondering, I hear that Europeans will breed better if you change their bedding frequently. So I'm wondering if I might try to sift at least some of this out, this compost out of here, like from the bottom, and then start over with some new bedding. Just put the existing bedding back. Not quite sure yet. Well, wherever I fed, I'm not seeing much food anywhere. I'm trying to get deep to make sure. Must have been this side because I'm seeing skins and all. Need to get rid of this guy. I do find that the Europeans don't like being disturbed very much. So I don't check on these guys midweek. I really try my best to leave them alone because it gets them all riled up, and then they're climbing the sides for a couple of hours before they settle back in. But it's our corncob. It's still interesting to me that babies and all are getting on here. It's definitely feeling more kind of like friable, and oh my goodness. But look at that, guys. They're actually in the middle of it. The other half just flew across the room. I'll have to grab that in a second. I had no idea that they were able to get through the middle of this. That is so cool. Look at how long that guy is. Oh my gosh. Well, it's funny. I just threw that other half across the room. I will have to go grab that. Let me grab that. I'll grab some food and we will feed up this bin and take a little bit more of a look. I really need to make a little bit more of a concerted effort to pay attention to where I fed last. As I was getting these other pieces that flew across the room, I dug into the middle here, and this seems to be where I fed last. You can actually see the blended food in here. There's a little potworm there. Haven't seen any of those in these bins recently. But you see some of those more juvenile worms that are still partially translucent. I'm seeing a lot of these worms, their clitellums are really swollen, which makes me think that we're going to get some cocoons laid pretty soon, which is really cool. I'm really looking for these guys to reproduce as much as possible. So I am definitely impressed with how it's going. I'm impressed with how much food they went through. So I guess I'll feed one of these ends with a little bit of food that I have. So yeah, let's dig up a trench and let's get them fed. Okay guys, so I just peeled up this corner over here. I added some crushed eggshell and some of that neem cake I've been experimenting with. And I have some food that has not been frozen, which is not typical for me, but I wanted to give it a try anyway. This is some remnants of some soup stock that we make each week. So it's got a little bit of everything, even foods that are typically not considered good for the bin. There's some ginger pieces, some onion, some garlic. So not traditional foods that you put in a bin, but my worms have not had problems with it. So I continue to use it because it's a good amount of waste we have after we make the stock. So let me get another handful or two. This is pretty wet, so I don't want to add a ton because I didn't add a ton of bedding, and I want this to continue to dry out a little bit for me so that I can maybe switch out some of this bedding soon for these guys. I also have some celery that was not frozen, so we know from previous experience that will take a while to decompose, but that is completely fine. So I'm just going to bury this food back up with some of the existing bedding in here. Take this mat out. This white paper, if you don't mix it with cardboard, it just mats up really, really bad. Okay, so that's covered up pretty good over here. Level everything off. Knock these worms down. Hopefully they'll settle down pretty quickly. And then I'm just going to cover this back up with my rags here. You can see they're starting to eat holes through it. I have seen worms climbing and laying on top of it, so that's pretty cool. I was interested to see how long that would last in the bin. And they do seem to be able to eat through it a little bit. So that's the update for today. I don't want it to get too long. I will be back this week for my usual updates on all of my bins. So please like this video, subscribe if you want some more content from me, and I will talk to you guys soon.